A warm welcome to News Now. I am Fidelia Agoncha. The Supreme Court have struck out an appeal by Magnus Abe and 42 others against the stay of execution granted and filed to hear the matter. Fagbemi had asked the court not to hear the appeal against the stay of execution, but should deal with the appeal first. Hence, the substantive appeal is still before the Court of Appeal sitting in Port Harcourt. Well, on his part, counsel to Magnus Abe and 42 others, Henry Bello, argued that the court ought not to stay an execution on judgment that has been executed. He also argued that the court ought not to have granted stay of execution to party that are in serious disobedience to the court. Ruling on the objection, the five-man panel, after 45 minutes of recess, struck out the appeal and reserved judgment for Tuesday, February 12. Well, still on judicial matters, the National Judicial Council, NJC, says it has set up a committee to review the responses given to it by the suspended Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onohen, and Acting Chief Justice Ibrahim Mohammed. The council had issued petition to Onohen and Mohammed, giving them 7 days to reply to allegations leveled against them. Onohen is accused of failing to fully declare his assets, while Mohammed is facing allegations of misconduct for allowing himself to be sworn in as a replacement for Onohen. Well, after meeting today, spokesperson of the NJC, Soji Oye, said the council resolved to constitute a preliminary complaint assessment committee in accordance with Regulation 17 of the National Judicial Council Discipline Regulations 2017. The committee is to report its findings to the council on February 13, when it will reconvene. Well, to electoral matters, President Muhammadu Buhari will lead 72 other presidential candidates to sign a peace accord on the February 16 presidential election. The peace pact to be signed on Wednesday will be a pledge by all candidates to accept the result of the elections and to ensure peace before, during, and after the polls. To witness the signing of the accord is former U.S. President Bill Clinton and Secretary General to the Commonwealth, Baroness Patricia Scotland, who will arrive Nigeria on Tuesday. Well, during his stay, Clinton will also pay a courtesy visit to President Muhammadu Buhari and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar. Meanwhile, some political parties have threatened to boycott the signing of the peace accord if some conditions are not included in the document. The parties, including the Action People's Party, Alliance National Party, and People's Coalition, among others, in a statement on Monday, listed 8 conditions that must be met before they assent to the accord. The parties are demanding that, among other things, security agencies should be restrained from clamping down on opposition leaders ahead of the elections, and they are also demanding the reversal of the recent redeployment of police commissioners across the state, that no result shall leave the polling unit without being announced and pasted on the wall in accordance with Electoral Act. The peace accord is scheduled to be signed on Wednesday, February 13. Well, the collection of permanent voters' cards has come to an end, and Nigerians have, been sharing expectations for the forthcoming general elections. Well, TV360's Adesha Odushoga tells us more.
Just 6 days from now, Nigerians will go to the polls to choose a new leader. But in the meantime, the collection of permanent voters' card (PVC) has come to an end. The deadline, which was moved from February 6 to 11, allowed millions of Nigerians the opportunity to exercise their mandate at the general elections. With many counting down to the big day, expectations are high on how the day will turn out.
I expect the best candidate to win. I expect to see a free and fair election. Even though being a Nigerian, it's hard to guarantee that. But then, I expect a free and fair election.
Well, I hope for the best, and the better candidate win the election. We are hoping for the best.
Election, if majority of, because people that I've been speaking with, the majority doesn't have the voters card. So what are we doing? What are we saying? We ought to have, step up our game higher than this in Nigeria. It's the short. I don't want to. I don't want to be. I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I don't think there is no hope yet.
Elections in Nigeria is becoming unanimous with words like violence, rigging, and the latest, vote buying. Recent elections conducted in various states across the country has been marred by these trends, with some political parties stationed at polling units offering money, food items and materials in exchange for votes. When asked if their PVC can be bought for 10,000 naira, listen to what Nigerians have to say.
I don't want money. I know we collect it. I will vote for any person who I like. I will vote.
I can't sell my rights because of money. Yeah. So I will vote for the person of my choice.
Of course, I wouldn't sell my vote for 10,000 or whatever amount they're paying. So we all want a better Nigeria with things working. So paying 10,000 for a candidate now to bring that to fruition isn't possible. So I wouldn't sell my vote for that.
Okay, if somebody comes around and say, take how much? How much is worth buying my future? How much is worth buying my children's future? How much are you going to offer me? That will be enough, that will be more than my voice I'm supposed to say with my vote. No, that is hell no.
As much as the voters are willing to troop out to vote in their candidates on the big day, they also have a message for the eventual winner.
I'm expecting them to do well, as in to make the Nigeria do okay. Like now, everything be okay. The masses will not be suffering again. Economy will be okay.
If you've lived in this country long enough, you find out that expectations can be cut really short. Yeah, we expect the major things: fix education, fix infrastructure, create jobs, or create an enabling environment for jobs, but yeah, same old. So it's a question of if the incoming government would be able to address that.
It's the last area, just 6 days to elections, and as you can see, people are here to collect their permanent voters card. INEC officials are on ground to attend to people who are here to collect their PVC, as you can see behind me, and it appears that people are ready for the presidential elections. Adeshawa Odushoga, TV360 Nigeria.
Well, still on the forthcoming elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has received a team of election observers from the Commonwealth. The delegation, led by former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete, met with INEC Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu and other stakeholders of the Commission in Abuja. The group is part of 28 international observers accredited by INEC to monitor the conduct of the polls. Last week, the ECOWAS Observation Group, led by former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, arrived the country ahead of the polls. And with the general elections 6 days away, President Buhari has intensified campaign for his re-election bid. The president has promised to continue to work in the best interest of Nigerians if re-elected come February 16. The president made the campaign pledge in a video message to Nigerians. In the video, Buhari admitted that the past 3 years have not been an easy one for his government, but with sincerity of purpose and support from the people, great progress has been made. He said, quote, "I hereby humbly ask for your support again in the coming elections to enable us to move to the next level and consolidate on the successes recorded in making our country a better place. I don't take your support for granted," end of quote. He added that if granted the support he seeks, his government's mandate will be delivered accordingly. Well, before the video message to Nigerians, President Muhammadu Buhari was in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, to garner support for his second-term bid. Buhari, accompanied by his vice, Yemi Osinbajo, and other cabinet members, pledged to intensify the war against corruption and improve infrastructural development at the next level. This is arguably the biggest gathering of political players in Lagos since the start of 2019. President Muhammadu Buhari is in the southwestern states to garner support for his re-election bid. The president, accompanied by his vice Yemi Osinbajo and other APC stalwarts, are received by this massive crowd of people filling up the 24,000 capacity Teslim Balogun Stadium. They are eager to hear the next level agenda of the Buhari Osinbajo team. Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode and his predecessor Babatunde Fashola individually welcomed the president, assuring him of massive support from Lagos residents at the elections.
The message is very clear. We appreciate Mr. President for the last 3.5 years. All the achievements we have made has been done through his own contribution and his support.
Your Excellency, I need only to welcome you specially because this is my own village. This is my own Daura in Lagos. This is Surulere. This is Sports City. And this is where most historically the dollar was devalued 4 years ago here. I have gave your message of the road intervention on 3rd Mainland Bridge, on Murtala Mohammed Road, on power in Odogunyo, in Ilashe, in Ejigo, in Ajah, in Ijora, to our people, that certainly life will be better at the next level when we win.
With the accreditation of 28 foreign observers to monitor the forthcoming elections by INEC, international interference in Nigeria's politics has taken center stage and stirred reactions from political stakeholders across the country. At the rally, APC national leader Ahmed Tinubu words into the issue. He also shares with the gathering useful tips for effective voting.
To all you, the governors across the country, here today, thank you for celebrating democracy in Lagos. This is a celebration of democracy. It's not about the campaign of Muhammadu Buhari and APC. Lagos is sure, very sure voting APC.
On his part, the national chairman of the party, Adams Oshomole, takes a swipe at the opposition PDP, insisting that the Buhari Osinbajo team is the best deal for Nigerians.
Why will any man or a woman suggest that the old Gagu that for 60 years delivered poverty, delivered corruption, delivered mismanagement, and gave us collective bad name, why will you bring them back?
It is now time for the president to address the audience. Amid cheers, he presents his next level agenda to Lagos State.
I thank you very much, and I assure you that the promise we have made 2015, based on which you elected us, we made tremendous progress, as I mentioned, by those who told you what this administration is doing on security, economy, and fighting corruption. I assure you, we will maintain focus. I assure you, whoever is trusted with public responsibility must account for it.
In the 2015 presidential election, the All Progressives Congress received a massive 792,460 votes from Lagos State, dislodging 13 other political parties, including the PDP. Key political gladiators in the state are promising to double the figure come February 16. While still ahead of the polls, a non-governmental organization, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, CACO, in collaboration with the Becker Right Club, are holding a rally calling for free and fair elections in the forthcoming polls. The rally was held at the Becker Garden in Lagos in honor of the former Minister of Health, Becker Ransom Kuti.
That is why we are saying that free, fair, credible and legitimate election should be a determinant of the evolution of a two-nation state. A nation state is that state where we have a criterion that is determined by everybody towards ensuring that the bond that binds us together does not only speak to the interest of a section or a segment of the country, so that at the end of the day, every Nigerian can say that he is part and parcel of what brought us together.
Moving on, the federal government has condemned reports that Lone Dapchi schoolgirl in Boko Haram captivity, Leah Sharibu, has died. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed, in a statement by his media aide, described the reports as fake news. He adds that the reports were politically motivated and a plot by the political opposition to tarnish the image of the Muhammadu Buhari administration and exploit sentiment ahead of the polls. Sharibu is one of the 110 students abducted from Government Girls Technical Science College, Dapchi, Yobe State, by Al-Banawi faction of the Boko Haram sect on February 19, 2018. Meanwhile, the family of the abducted schoolgirl has once again appealed to the federal government to do everything possible to rescue the teenager from Boko Haram captivity. They made the call at a press briefing in Abuja. 15-year-old Leah has spent almost a year in captivity after she refused to denounce her faith as demanded by the sect. Annetta Felix has that story.
It was meant to be a media briefing to appeal to the Nigerian government to hasten the release of Leah Sharibu, but it turned out to be an emotional gathering. Speaking through an interpreter, Leah's mother asked the government to remember Leah and the promises he made to rescue her.
She has just called on the government to please keep their promises. They made promises to her through the call that President Buhari made to her, and also through the high-profile delegation he sent to Dapchi, who reassured her that Leah will be out. That whenever you make a promise, the best thing to do is to keep that promise. And that is why she's crying and asking the government to fulfill the promise that they made to the family.
Leah Sharibu was among 110 girls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram terrorists on February 19, 2018, from Government Girls Science and Technology College in Dapchi, Yobe State. When most of them were released a month later on March 21, 2018, Leah Sharibu was left behind on the basis of her Christian faith.
We as a family decided to call for the press briefing to please ask everyone not to forget Leah, because Leah is still in captivity. And that is why we said we will want to please call on every well-meaning person in Nigeria, and not just Nigeria, the entire world, to please not forget Leah, because in less than 8 days now, she will be 1 year if she is not released before then.
I am here today because Leah's bravery has impacted me greatly. We might forget about Leah sometimes as we get busy in our life, but Leah is not and never meant to be forgotten in any way. We need to remember her. And I am here to also remind us to petition God, to ask Him to be with her wherever she is, and to be so close to her and show Him His strong love.
Leah's story is an incredible example of standing up for your faith, and she did this even in the face of captivity and danger. When she was asked to renounce Christ, she refused. And that bravery and integrity is what has inspired the Leah Foundation to be advocating for girls like Leah and empowering them today.
Leah Sharibu is a heroine. Leah Sharibu represents the best of what Nigeria should be. A young girl at the age of 14 to stand up for her Christian faith and conviction without fear. Leah today is in captivity because of her commitment to what is right.
It's almost 365 days now that Leah has been held prisoner by Boko Haram, and despite rumors of her death, the federal government says Leah is alive and well, and they were doing all they can to rescue her. The government has made promises like this many times before, but with so much time lost, her parents can only hold on to their faith, just like Leah. Annetta Felix, TV360, Lagos.
Well, News Now will continue in just a moment. Don't go away.
It's another important time in our country's history,
where we head to the polls to decide our future.
You and I have the power to choose our leaders.
But we can only do this when we exercise our rights to vote.
Every single vote matters, and I mean yours.
Say your power.
Say no to vote buying.
Say no to electoral violence. This message was brought to you by
TV360 Nigeria.
Welcome back. Well, let's now join Annetta Felix for the latest in business. Hello, Annetta.
Hello, Fidelia.
So some experts and analysts have been reacting to the aftermath of elections. They are saying some things might happen and some things might not happen. Could you tell us more about this?
That's true, Fidelia. Nigerian elections, as we're all aware, is just a few days away, and analysts are reacting to the economic implication of the aftermath of the polls. Now, speaking in an interview with TV360 Nigeria, the CEO of Cowrie Assets Limited, Johnson Chukwu, says that for the continued growth of the Nigerian economy, whosoever emerges winner at the polls should focus on battling unemployment in the country.
I believe that the biggest challenge the new government will face is how to create employment. We've seen the level of unemployment in the country get to about 20 million young men, 20 million people. We've seen the rate of unemployment as a percentage of the working population above 20%. So that will be the policy that will challenge the new government because of the structural defects in the economy. The basic thing is this: for you to create employment in this country on a sustainable basis, you need to adopt very difficult economic policies. You need to really push towards the restructuring of the economy.
Now, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, says his ministry could not get the names of corrupt contractors alleged to have looted funds in the power sector. The statement is in response to a Freedom of Information request filed by SERAP, asking him to publish the names of contractors who have failed to meet the terms of contracts they signed from 1999 to 2018. SERAP made the call following allegations by Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, that some contractors for power projects were paid 100% upfront but did not execute the project and were let to go scot-free. Now, responding to the FOI request, Fashola said, quote, "We have searched the ministry's records and the information you applied for is not held by the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing." End of quote. Now we'll take a break here and we'll return with a stock market review. Do stay with us. The Nigerian stock market is expected to trade at 30,100 199.68 points at the end of this quarter, and that's according to the Trading Economics Global Macro Models and Analyst Expectations. Now, in the meantime, the NSE is maintaining a gaining streak, and that's driven by bargain hunters as the all-share index appreciates by 0.80% today, and that's to close at 31,781.87 basis points. Now, we see that the industrial goods sector is recording the most gains today as Better Glass has actually increased by 9.55%, and this is selling at 14.29% higher than its average share price of 63 naira in the past 7 market days. So we see this appreciation here today from 66 naira per share on Friday to 72.3 naira today on Monday. Now, other gainers are Seplat Petroleum Development Company, Unilever Nigeria PLC, and Cadbury Nigeria PLC. Now, looking at the flip side, we see that the oil and gas sector is dominating the list of losers today. Total Nigeria PLC lost by 7.20%, selling at 205 naira per share, its lowest price in 7 trading sessions. International brewers CNI Leasing, Dangote Cement are also losing by 3.33%, 9.96%, and 0.27%. respectively. Now, we see that a breakdown of the market turnover shows that the financial services sector is leading the activity chart, followed by the consumer goods sector. And today's bullish market saw an increase in the volume of shares traded to over 551 million shares, and that's valued at over 5 billion naira. And the deals, obviously, in over 5,229 deals. Now, let's see what's happening on the global scene. FTSE, we see that basically the global stock was generally bearish, but it was a bull's market on the Financial Times and London Stock Exchange FTSE, as we see a healthy gain of 0.82%. Now, stocks on the Dow thinned their early gains at the start of trading activity to close with a decline of 0.21%, and the Nikkei also closed in a negative territory with a decline of 2.01%. And that's it from here, Fidelia.
Wow, thank you, Annette, for that extensive summary of the stock market. We will take a short break and return with sports and foreign news. Don't go away.
Last you vote. Oh yeah. When last you vote for the person, when you get for mind say go sabi work.
Not be person will find you something, no.
Okay now, you register to vote?
So you don't collect your PVC?
I beg. Make we not be like Esau, we're selling bet right though.
Make we shine our eyes this election period. Make we stamp only people where we know say then get better mind for Nigeria. This message.
TV360 Nigeria.
Opposition leader and second runner-up in the Democratic Republic of Congo presidential election, Martin Fayulu, has addressed a letter to the African Union demanding for fresh poll to be held in 6 months. Fayulu made the proposal at a 2-day AU summit being held in Ethiopia. He claims he was cheated and result had been swayed in favor of President Felix Tshisekedi by Seni, the country's electoral commission. To back his claim, Fayulu says Seni's result, which leaked to the media, shows he won 60% of the vote. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court has dismissed an official petition from Fayulu challenging the results. And to sport, former Secretary Nigeria Football Federation Taiwo Ogunjobi is dead. The football administrator passed on after failing to recover from an undisclosed illness. The news of his death was confirmed by Tunde Shamsuddin, the public relations officer of Osun United Football Club, who said that Ogunjobi passed on in the early hours of Monday at the University College Hospital in Ibadan. Until his death, Ogunjobi was the chairman of Osun State Football Association. The trophy of the International Cricket Council World Cup will arrive Nigeria on Monday, that is today, for a 3-day tour of the country. The Nigeria Cricket Federation in a statement said the tour is part of the build-up to the 2019 World Cup. Now, despite not being eligible to participate in the tournament in June, Nigeria was picked as one of the countries the trophy would visit. The NCF also added that the trophy would be hosted in Abuja and Lagos. Well, that's all on News Now. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Bye for now.